So we all know Tamagotchis, right? They were one of the biggest toys of the late 90s and early 2000s, alongside troll dolls and Furbies and those horrible doodle bears that you could draw on that always looked horrible. They were a huge fad. People were wearing Tamagotchis as necklaces, clipping them to their bags and jeans to be with them 24/7, taking them to work and school, and basically any place where it would be inappropriate to use. I'm sure that more than one funeral has been interrupted by some kid's Tamagotchi absolutely going off. But with millions of sales around the globe, the well of Tamagotchi's popularity could not go untapped, which is why in 2005 Mattel came out with their own competing virtual toy, Pixel Chix, the louder, clunkier, weirder relative of the Tamagotchi, which, you know, relatable. So what exactly is a Pixel Chick? How do you play with this strange contraption, and did Mattel succeed in making the next Tamagotchi? Well, let's discuss. Before we continue, I just want to give a huge thank you to Dragon Mania Legends for sponsoring this video. Dragon Mania Legends is a free-to-play dragon simulator game available for mobile, tablet, and PC. Immerse yourself in the magical fantasy world of Dragolandia, where you can design, decorate, and customize your own fantasy islands with special farms and habitats. Of course, no magical island is complete without dragons, and if you couldn't tell, Dragon Mania Legends is all about dragons. You can collect, breed, and train more than 900 unique dragons, raising them from babies to adults, breeding them to create exciting new combinations, and mastering their elements so they can participate in amazing battles. You can also create your own guild to play with friends and family. I was a cringy dragon kid. I've played a lot of dragon games and I'm a sucker for some good dragon designs, and this game has them in spades. I'm not going to spoil too much for you, but here are just a few of my favorite designs. The angler dragon, because anglerfish are my favorite fish and this guy is cool as heck. The Orium Lumen dragon, or as I like to call it, the biblically accurate dragon. The blackberry dragon, who's just straight up adorable. And the circus dragon, of course, because, you know, that would be me if I were a dragon. You can collect all these guys and hundreds more in Dragon Mania Legends. Use the link in the description to install the game and get a welcome package including 7 VIP tickets, 50,000 food, and 100,000 gold. A huge thank you to Dragon Mania Legends for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back into the world of Pixel Chix. Tamagotchi had been sweeping the globe for several years by the mid-2000s, becoming a global trend and a bona fide pop cultural phenomenon. For those not in the know, Tamagotchis were these little capsule-shaped devices that allowed you to play and look after a virtual pet. You could feed it, play with it, and train it to raise it into a healthy, happy, and well-behaved pet. Or you could leave it to wallow in its own filth and become a terrible person with no morals. If neglected for too long, the pets could even die, resulting in many kids having genuine meltdowns because of how heartbroken they were over the death of their beloved Tamagotchi. It was a genius design. The simple gameplay meant that it could be picked up by virtually anyone. Get it? Virtually. But the surprisingly deep mechanics of caring, training, and eventually evolving your Tamagotchi were addictive. The toys themselves were super portable and not only able to be discreetly carried in a pocket, bag, or pencil case, but could be clipped to items of clothing or made into jewelry. The extreme portability combined with the simple gameplay meant that players could take their toys everywhere they went, and the more they played, the closer they would get with their pet. And the closer they got with their pet, the more they played. You get the idea. It was the perfect gameplay loop, and the addictive portable pet simulator was immortalized in the Fad Game Hall of Fame next to, like, Flappy Bird. So, looking to ride the Tamagotchi hype, Mattel began working on their own virtual pet/companion style toy. Little is actually known about the development of the toy since information is very scarce. There are like a billion different write-ups and interviews about the development of Tamagotchi, but Pixel Chix remains kind of an enigma. What we do know is that the concept and product was designed by Jeffrey Levine, who's worked on Monster High, Polly Pocket, and Barbie during his time at Mattel. Considering its release in late 2005, we can estimate that the product may have started development in mid to late 2004, though it could have been before then. But let's cut to the chase. How the hell does this toy work? Oh, how the hell does this toy work? The Pixel Chix tagline brands it as a 2D girl in a 3D world, and yeah, I'd say that's a fairly accurate assessment. Upon opening this big old clunker of a box, you'll see a little inset dollhouse room with little plastic furniture and decorations. When you turn the toy on, the little lights on the roof will light up the room and the LCD screen will buzz to life. The screen depicts the Pixel Chick herself, as well as a bunch of pixelated room decorations, buttons, and gameplay items. Our virtual friend doesn't really have a name as such. She's referred to in the manual simply as Gal and Pal interchangeably, and is also sometimes referred to as Pixel. But that's kind of the point. She doesn't really have a set name or look because she's yours to customize and look after.
You're watching TV when there's a party at my place? You can hang with Pixel Chix and have a pixel day. Anything can happen, no telling what she'll say. go out in this?
Her manners aren't perfect, her clothes are really hot.
Fabulous.
Play through every level, and look at all she's got. Visit other Pixel Chix and hang out even more. But don't you dare ignore her, or this chick is out the door. She needs your help to play, so let's have a Pixel Day!
New Pixel Chix interactive game, a 2D girl in a 3D world, each sold separately.
This toy is essentially a slightly less stressful version of Tamagotchi. Your Pixel Chick can't die, thankfully, because that would be grim to say the least, and you also don't need to feed her, clean her, or train her, again thankfully, because that would be weird. Instead, it's a far more relaxed life simulation. You can play games with her, dress her up, eat snacks, sleep, and do a wide variety of activities, aka 2-second animations. The more time you spend with your Pixel Chick, the higher her level will be, and the more clothes, food, and games will be unlocked. However, if you ignore her for too long, which is really easy to do because she's super impatient, and if you leave her alone for like 2 seconds, she starts screaming at you.
Excuse me. Excuse me. Excuse me.
Her levels will decrease and she'll eventually leave if it gets too low. And look, I also can't be left alone with my thoughts for 2 seconds, otherwise I'll start losing it, but it's a lot to deal with, especially with the voice acting. Yeah, Pixel Chix are actually fully voice acted, and I'm sure that many of you have already caught on to who voices them from that commercial earlier. Tara Strong herself was the voice of this product, and she played every single Pixel Chick aside from one. We'll touch on that later, but honestly I think Strong is a great fit for the character. Now, I thought I remembered having a Pixel Chix when I was younger, but honestly I think I might have had the McDonald's version, which was a far cheaper, smaller, and less capable toy which sold with Happy Meals in France, Portugal, Australia, and of course New Zealand. They only had 3 buttons and could do very little other than play random animations basically, but I seemingly enjoyed it enough that Pixel Chix is still burned into my memory over 10 years later. Obviously I wanted to get myself the real deal for this video, but they were surprisingly hard to come across. I kept my eyes open for any of these things popping up on secondhand websites for ages, like weeks upon weeks, and none of them popped up, and then one lone Pixel Chix popped up for $50. This thing has seen better days as well. I can't even begin to guess what the hell these stains are, and you know what? I don't want to. Sometimes ignorance is bliss. Anyway, this particular model is the Love to Shop Mall, released in 2006. This specific model is the salon and shop, but there was another variation that had a boutique and a food court. The box is pretty clunky. It's a sort of rounded square shape with a handle at the back to carry it around, as well as a large Pixel Chix logo printed on this 3D necklace. On the left side there's a small port, and on the right side another port with a speaker above it. On the bottom is a volume slider, a pinhole that you can use to reset the game, and of course the batteries are nestled in there as well. Upon opening up the box, which is shut tight with these little clasps, you'll see this, and yeah, there's a lot going on here. The top level is the pet shop and the bottom level is the hairdresser. This middle screen can flip, allowing your Pixel Chick to move between rooms. The bottom buttons, well, I can't lie, they kinda confused me at first. Is this a shovel and a pickaxe? What does the time button do? This one seems evident enough, I guess, but what's the difference between the dress and the handbag? What function does the smiley face serve? Thankfully, my pathetic questions were answered when I checked out the manual. The shovel and pickaxe button is actually a work button, and the first time you press it in either store, you'll talk to the manager and score yourself a job. After that, whenever you press the button, you'll get into your uniform and enter work mode, where you can attend to customers' various problems to earn money. The tick allows you to select yes, and the X allows you to select no. Pretty simple. The clock is break time, which allows you to take a break from shopping and working. This is a weird one, since whenever you press it, basically it just plays a little 2-second animation of your Pixel Chick doing something random, which is fun, I guess. Gameplay. If you press this enough times while you're working, the boss will come down the elevator and kind of shake his head at you disapprovingly, but you'll never get fired, so it's fine, I guess.
What should we do?
This better not happen again.
This little money and dress icon is your money/stuff, and yes, that's what it's called in the manual, and it definitely is that. You can press it to see all the items that your friend has brought, whether it be hairdos or pets, and you can also see how much money she has in her wallet. The smiley face is the fun button, which you can press to play a variety of games with your Pixel Chick. These games range from easy to extremely hard, usually just by virtue of the controls being kinda hard to master on this thing. Some games I encountered were moving the character around the screen to catch falling wigs, throwing food to a bird who was flying around the roof, and a memorization game about painting nails. Winning games is one of two ways to earn more money, the other being successfully dealing with customers at work. And finally, the handbag is the shop button, which allows your Pixel Chix to go on a shopping spree. Woo! At the pet shop you can buy a cat, a dog, or a bird, and once in your inventory you can play games with them. In the salon you can buy a whole bunch of stuff, though unfortunately most of it is pretty inconsequential. You can buy different hairdos and change them around, which is cool, but buying shampoo, a manicure, or a facial just plays a short animation and doesn't alter your character or the game in any way. To be honest, the Pixel Chix that I got feels kind of devoid of things to do. While working the game, we'll usually cycle through the same customers pretty frequently. I had to deal with this rat like 30 times. The break time button also recycles animations pretty often, hairstyles are limited, and as far as I can tell there's nowhere to change her outfit on this particular model, which is kind of sad since the customization aspect kind of feels like the whole point. But that brings us onto the topic of the connectivity feature. One of the biggest draws of the product is that you can connect two or more of them together. That's what these little ports here are for. If you have two Pixel Chix, you can connect them together using this. This was at first advertised as a way to play with friends, connect two houses together and your Pixel Chix can hang out together. It's a pretty cute and fun idea and a good way to get kids to play more socially. But it very quickly became apparent that this connectivity feature was just a way to get kids to pry open their parents' wallets and buy more stuff. You may have the regular old house, but don't you want to get the two-story house so your Pixel Chix can live in a mansion? And she needs a car, right? To get to the mall. But your mall isn't complete with just two shops, you have to get both malls to make a mega mall. The reason that the Pixel Chix toy that I got feels kind of devoid of content is because really it's meant to be used with one or more of the other extensions. The first Pixel Chix release was the basic one-story house, which you could get as a cottage, loft, or mansion. This was sort of like the base game, if you will. You could dress up, feed, and play with your Pixel Chix in her home environment while leveling her up and unlocking new items and clothes. This was followed by the road trip and car, also in 2006. This was a basic model, only having 4 buttons which could change the radio station, switch the destination, wind the car windows up and down, and play a variety of car noises. Because that's what kids love. Car noises. This one was actually pretty cool though, since it was a little smaller and more compact than the other models. It could be clipped onto bags, and the little connection port is hidden away in the bonnet of the car, which you can open up. Later in 2006 came the 2-story house model, which only came in 2 varieties, house and loft. This was similar to the original Pixel Chix houses, but like my little contraption here, it had a screen that could flip between the first and second story of the house, with slightly more varied gameplay and activities. This model also had a dedicated bathroom button, and I think every game should have one of those. The last release of 2006 was the Love to Shop Mall, which we've already talked about pretty extensively. It's essentially a minimum wage job DLC that also doubles as a place for your character to go buy more items. Either hair and pets or food and clothes, depending on what kind of mall you got. Or both, I guess, if your parents were wealthy. In 2007, Mattel switched it up with their most ambitious model yet, the Pixel Chix Roomies house.
Hey, Roomies!
Hello! Pixel Chix Roomies got a new house now. Move your roomies in. Let's meet them all now. Beauty queen. Fabulous. Sporty. Hey. Punk. And hip hop. Different girls sharing 6 rooms and 3 floors. Lots of games to play. Yeah, fun never stops. The winner with the most points gets the best room at the top. I'm queen of the house. Pixel Chix Roomies.
Roomies house comes with Miss Sporty. Other Roomies friends each sold separately. Ask mom or dad to get you online to unlock more surprises.
This one had a pretty funny concept. Rather than just being a chill slice of life game with dress-ups and mini-games, in the Roomies house you would make the roommates fight each other to see who would be the quote-unquote queen of the house. The top story is the master bedroom and bathroom, and whichever roomie has the highest point score gets to stay in that room. You can up their scores by playing games and making them compete against each other. Living in this house sounds like actual hell. You're just always in this tense competition with your roommates, gradually coming to see them as enemies, never sure of your position within the household. It's basically Pixel Chix Hunger Games. Also, you'd only get one Pixel Chix with the Roomies toy, and you'd have to buy all of the other ones separately. This is worth noting because, well, capitalism, but also because one of the Roomies, Miss Sporty, was the only Pixel Chix who wasn't voiced by Tara Strong for some unknown reason. Later in 2007 came the babysitter toy, which had another kinda cool gimmicky feature, revolving rooms. By turning a knob on one side you can switch rooms, and if the red light comes on it means that something's gone wrong in another room that you have to fix. From the manual, quote, "Oh no, the red light is on. Is something wrong in that room? Do you need to call a handyman? Has the baby gotten into some mischief? Find the baby!" So ominous. By 2007, Pixel Chix had actually been successful enough that Mattel launched a spin-off line called Pixel Petz.
Hey, my hamster's got a secret.
Big, big pixel pets are more than ordinary pets. her hamster flip her cage. Now she's a rock star on stage.
She's got a secret life.
Deep breath, Pixel Catz, the show was not her best. Practice.
You could of course play with and look after your Pixel pets like any regular Pixel Chix toy, which came off as a little too brazenly Tamagotchi now that they were actual animals. But the gimmick here was that if you flipped the toy upside down, it would shift into rockstar mode. Your hamster or puppy, depending on the model you owned, would enter their secret world where they could dress up, practice singing and playing instruments, and perform for crowds. You could also plug your iPod into it so your pet could perform all your favorite Linkin Park and Evanescence songs. By the time 2008 had rolled around, Mattel had released the Pixel Chix TV, which came in 3 varieties: Fashion Network, Pet Planet, and Travel World. The TV was a decent amount smaller than a lot of the other sets and had very limited selection of buttons, though it did also come with a weird little Pixel Chix shaped remote. This one was very basic. You just channel surf, watch little animations, and play games to unlock new channels and activities. By this point they were really pushing to integrate their online website into play, so the manuals are filled with links to their website where you could unlock more stuff. We'll talk about that shortly. Put a pin in it. Put a pixel in it? Is that the line I wrote? I literally wrote that in the script with a question mark next to it. Fab Life, released in 2008, was the final Pixel Chix product to be released before the brand was completely discontinued and taken off of store shelves in 2009. This was Mattel's magnum opus, the pinnacle of Pixel Chix design, the most involved gadget that the brand had yet come out with, truly a grand finale. Fab Life's main gimmick was that it also functioned as a real-life piggy bank. You could deposit real money into it to get virtual money, and they added a nice little bit of financial education since the money triples if you save it instead of spending it right away. The virtual money, that is. For legal reasons, I must state that Mattel did not invent an infinite money generator, unfortunately. With over 50 games and activities spread between the 4 different locations, home, the mall, the fun fair, and the bank, Fab Life was by far the most complex of all of the toys, combining aspects of all of the previous models. Unfortunately, by 2009 the Pixel Chix brand had somewhat fallen out of popularity as the virtual pet craze had shifted from kitschy handheld gadgets to online games like Neopets and Gaia Online. That isn't to say that Pixel Chix didn't try to hop on the virtual world bandwagon though. As the Pixel Chix brand was growing and gaining popularity, they began really trying to integrate online play elements. This was and still is very common for toy lines to do, and Mattel has always been pretty ahead of the curve when it comes to the online marketing aspect of their brands, whether they be webisodes, interactive websites, or games. Pixel Chix had its own now defunct website, a very flashy page with Pixel commenting and performing animations, while various advertisements for new products and buttons for games and activities dazzled the viewer. It's that very specific gaudy brand of 2000's kids website that I just love. There's so much going on here, and yet I wish every page on the internet looked like this. According to 2 Animators, a small animation and production company, they did designs and animations for a quote-unquote sweet MMO featuring Mattel's global toy brand for tween girls. Now the actual factual truth is kinda hard to get straight because hey girl, this site would be a lot cooler with Flash. We miss you every day, sweet prince. But from the very limited amount of information that we do have, I don't think this was an actual MMO. This post specifically refers to it as the Groove and Roomies virtual world, and from these images I think it was basically just an amalgamation of mini-games including a DDR style dance game as well as some basic interactive activities like buying pets and dressing up. There does appear to be an overworld of sorts from this image, but my suspicion is that it just served as a hub room from which to access the games and activities from. I don't think this was the type of MMO where you create a character and chat with other players in real time, but rather just a fun way to bundle some website mini-games with an overworld that may or may not have been populated with other players. If it was likely very simple and bare bones. There are several other images available online of games from pixelchix.com, including Flippin' Kitchen, a cooking game, Pixel Says, a Simon Says clone, and Monster Baby. Your guess is honestly as good as mine on this one, but I presume it has something to do with avoiding or picking up items that are being dropped off a shelf. I'm pretty sure these were just actual website games though, and had nothing to do with the Groove and Roomies virtual world. There was also a desktop buddy that you could install on your PC to have a little Pixel Chick running around your computer, which is so cute and so very 2000s it hurts. Also, I don't know why, but I find these screenshots of the Pixel Chix install wizard extremely cool. I don't know, they just have this great aesthetic. So in the grand scheme of things, did Pixel Chix become the Tamagotchi of the mid to late 2000s? I don't think so, for numerous reasons. Firstly, it lacked portability, plain and simple. Sure, there are a few models that you can clip onto things, but most of them are too big and bulky to be convenient, and the best you can do is kind of carry it around like a weird little plastic purse. In my opinion, the more portable and easily accessible a virtual pet / friend simulator is, the better it works, because half the appeal of these things is to bond with them and feel immersed in their little world. It's why mobile pet sims are so popular. They're easily accessed on the go and pretty much always with you, so you feel a certain closeness to them. Not so much here. The mechanics feel at once shallow and confusing. The button and menu system can be kind of a lot to wrap your head around, and once you do, you're rewarded with pretty basic and repetitive gameplay. Part of my personal experience is definitely the fact that I only had one Pixel Chix and it was one of the extensions rather than the base game, but to be fair, these were all advertised as standalone toys. I'm sure there were plenty of kids out there who only got the car or only got the mall, so they really should be able to be evaluated on their own merits. That isn't at all to say that Pixel Chix is a bad product. The seamless meshing of 2D and 3D are honestly really impressive, and it clearly sold well considering it ran for several years and got various add-ons and spin-offs and online games. It was a treasured toy for many young kids who genuinely did bond with Pixel and had countless hours of fun. At the end of the day, it was a toy for kids, and you kind of have to meet it where it's at. It's not perfect, but for its time it was pretty innovative, the aesthetic was cool, and it made a lot of kids happy. And any toy line that does that is a success as far as I'm concerned. The fact that Pixel was kind of messy and opinionated and yes, had attitude is cool. It's always neat to see brands getting a little more edgy and kind of meeting their demographic where they're at instead of pandering to them with kind of silly sanitized stuff that doesn't actually appeal to them. The whole digital Pixel girl with attitude thing was actually very forward thinking and in many ways pretty ahead of its time. I can 100% see TikTok influencers wearing Pixel Chix baby tees and wearing these things as like belt chains and necklaces. Okay, maybe not necklaces, they are extremely heavy. It just captures that very specific brand of mid-2000s tween girl nostalgia that I think could really come back in a big way. Who knows, maybe there really will be a Pixel Chix renaissance where the toys are rebooted and become the next biggest thing in the world. Or maybe they'll just do like a really shitty collab with Dolls Kill. Anything could happen. Thank you guys so much for watching that video, I really appreciate it. I really hope that you guys enjoyed watching it. Pixel Chix is really interesting to me because it's kind of at the cross section of two different decades and two different styles of like gameplay. You have like the Tamagotchi kind of gimmicky physical virtual pet phenomenon, and then you also have, you know, online gaming, virtual worlds, etc. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. I wouldn't say the best. It combines both worlds in an interesting way, and it was at a point in time where that was kind of new, at least that cross section between the two genres, I guess. So yeah, anyway, it's interesting. I'm glad that I have my hands on one now. Like I said, this one is not in great shape, but it's a cool little nostalgic knick-knack to have. And yeah, I mean, if you guys are interested in checking them out and you can find them, because like I said, I couldn't find one like anywhere in my area, but if you can find one for like cheap and you can get your hands on it, honestly it's like a cool little gimmicky thing to have. I recommend it. It's fun to spend a couple hours being bossed around by a virtual girl. That sounded weird. Again, I want to give a huge thanks to Dragon Mania Legends for sponsoring this video. Use the link in the description to download the game and get a welcome package featuring 7 VIP tickets, 50,000 food, and 100,000 gold. Anyway, like I said, I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you ever have any suggestions for future things you want me to cover, definitely let me know. I have a big long list and I'm always adding new stuff to it, so definitely feel free to drop suggestions and stuff like that. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye! A huge thank you to my Garfield overlords over on Patreon: David Martinez, Tentabat, Oliver Lols, Caramel Coffee Bean, Blue Mayfeld, Electro Kitten, Katrina Likes 5e Stuff, Fitzy, Jorge K. Cruz, Michelle Olsen, Strawberries, Matt LRJ, A Riddle Wrapped in an Enigma Hidden by a Question Mark, SHSL Sunsun, Doug, Dana Homegardner, Charlie B, Simon, John Leach, Ren Pendragon, Xavier Arajo, Helm Hamburger Hand, Durzo Blint, Sheriff Whiskey, The Fabulibrarian, Astrian Vortex, Jesse Chisholm, Fish000, Greg Gunderson, and Joe Bradshaw. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. If you want to join these guys over on Patreon, the link will be in the description. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I really hope to see you in the next one. Bye!